but I want to talk about my 1 year of keto. Basically, it started on December the 15th, and at the time I was kind of having a lot of issues with my stomach health, my gut, getting, every night I used to have like multiple Gaviscons. Those are antacids, and I found that almost every night I was just being woken up or couldn't get to sleep because I had to take one or two of those tablets every night, and it was getting worse and very uncomfortable to sleep, and getting up multiple times with almost wanting to throw up. It was so bad. Going back a little further, the doctor said that I need to be, as he quotes, a slim Jim. A Basically, he believed that I should be in my mid 70s kgs. At 70 kgs seemed like an unattainable goal for me, because at that time I was at actually about 95 kgs, which is quite heavy, and I was getting more and more heavy. Just before I went on keto, I decided that I needed to lose some weight. So I started cycling about 5 hours a week, so 5 different 1 hour sessions a week on my exercise bicycle. And I did lose a little bit of weight, maybe half a kg with some serious effort. But back then I thought, well, I just eat whatever I like and I'll exercise. But one of the first things you need to realize is that there's just no outrunning a bad diet. You just can't do it. The more you exercise, the more you want to eat. So what I found was that I felt good exercising, and that's good for you, but I was still putting on weight, and I went up to like 95.5 kgs at one point. With my growing weight, I think my anxiety increased, and I started feeling out of control of my weight, and it was something that I really needed to focus on and get right for my health. So what were my motivations for going on keto? Well, my biggest motivation is obviously my own health, but longevity is important. I have 2 kids, and thinking, well, what happens if they lose their father to bad health? That could be quite bad. So at least I need to do whatever I can to gain control and bring my weight back so that I can live as long as I can and give them, the best that they deserve, or the best that they I needed to give them the best opportunities they had in life, and me being around was, I thought, the most valuable thing I could give them. One of my motivations as well was trying to be an example to other people around me as well. I've obviously done this, and I'm doing this, and it's working for me, but also wanted to be an inspiration. One of the things I'm really quite proud of is my parents, who have gone onto it. I'm not going to deal with their specific details, but they've lost quite in a short time, lost weight, and their body shape has changed, and they've started slimming down. So that's quite good, and I'm hoping that that's going to have a positive impact on their health as well. So people at work have asked questions and are quite amazed at times when they see me after a few months and they've seen the weight come off, and being able to sort of tell them. I suppose that's part of what this video is about as well, is being able to share my story. I'm not sure how I got into keto, but I'm pretty sure it was from some YouTube channel selections or some YouTube suggestions, and that was quite helpful. But anyway, I thought I'd give it a try. Initially, to be honest, I thought that being able to eat as much fat and protein as you like, cut out the carbs, was not going to help you lose weight. I thought that was ridiculous. How could eating lots of fat and good healthy fats that make you lose weight? So I was very skeptical at the beginning. That I'd give it a try just by replacing my breakfast cereals, because I looked at the packaging. I don't know if you've ever looked at the packaging on breakfast cereal, but it's very high in carbs and sugars and all kinds of other crap, to put it bluntly. So I thought, okay, I will start off by making bacon and eggs for breakfast, and the occasional omelette to spice it up, and at least some scrambled eggs or something like that. So that's how I started, and I kept that up for a couple of weeks, and yeah, so to my surprise, it didn't take long for the weight to start falling off. I probably lost, I don't remember the details, but probably about a kg in the first week just by sort of doing that simple change. So based on my first meal change, I started replacing other meals and getting a bit more serious about keto and replacing or eliminating all of the carbohydrates that I could. So so keto is kind of hard at first. It feels like it's a big change to your body. You go from craving carbs and wanting potatoes to wanting proper food like bacon and fat laden chops and things like that, which are really good. But the first couple of weeks you feel like you're losing energy because your body is got to switch from running on carbohydrates to running on fat and metabolizing protein more, and your body doesn't really like it. So the first few days you get what they call the keto flu, which is kind of just feeling a little bit less energetic. You can get a little bit of flu symptoms, but it's really minor. It's like a very minor grade of cold, just as your body adjusts. But it doesn't last long. A few days, a week, maybe max 2 weeks, and you start feeling great, and you kind of lose those symptoms almost immediately, which is quite cool. So while I'm here, one of the things which really I noticed almost immediately switching over to keto was my stomach issues disappeared practically overnight. I would say maybe within the first 2 nights or 3 nights on keto, and cutting out the carbs, my stomach settled down and I didn't need any antacids. So I've been on keto since 2018 for over a year now, and I think I might have taken one antacid at one time. I don't know. I don't think I even have done that. Could be wrong. I have, to be honest, I have had indigestion maybe 2 or 3 times, but that's typically when I've had something which I didn't realize is full of carbohydrates or something like that. That's usually the case, or if I've maybe indulged in something minor like a cake, slice of cake, very thin slice of cake. But anyway, that's another story. I'll get onto that later. So particularly at the beginning of keto, you lose a lot of weight, water weight, and you can actually feel like a chemical change in your body. You do your breath does smell a bit. It's like fasting, and you do have a little bit of body odor at the beginning as all that fat is kind of metabolized and gotten rid of by the body. So there's a time of adjustment that happens. So one of the important things which helped me stick to my plan of eating is I made up a simple rule, and that is if I was faced with a meal, if I had no choice but to eat carbs, I just simply would not eat that meal. So if I was out with friends at a restaurant and there was the pasta palace or whatever you want to call it, I just wouldn't eat. That was my rule. If it's got more than a reasonable amount of carbs, which I'll get you later. So if it's got too many carbs, I just wouldn't eat that meal. That was my simple rule: no carbs, or practically zero carbs, or no meal. So that was a strict rule that I kept to myself, which is quite simple to keep. Well, it can take a bit of adjustment at the beginning, but I did that, and I felt that kind of helped me stay focused on this diet. The important takeaway there is not giving yourself permission. So you do not have permission to have a cheat day or a cheat meal, or it's just okay if I have this potato or whatever it is. I found it was very good to just have a quick hard fast rule: no carbs, and that I found to be very effective. I think if you have cheat days, you're kind of likely to fall off the wagon as your body sort of goes back to its addiction. So yes, carbohydrates is an addiction, and sugar is an addiction, probably more addictive than Coke, and I don't mean Coca-Cola. So yeah, keep that in mind. So initially it's difficult when you're so used to just going for a slice of bread or a biscuit or something from the fridge. Finding alternatives was quite hard at first because you have to really think about it, and you feel like your options are limited. But over time, you kind of learn through trial and error what is actually available to you. Like one story is I started taking tuna and salad to work with a bit of cheese on the top, which is quite fine. But and that was my lunch for the in the beginning, and I felt like I was eating cat food most of the time. Tuna's fine, but yeah, it was kind of interesting story. But over time, you kind of grow, you sort of grow as you go. One of the things tools that helped me out near the beginning was tracking your macros. Now, this is not essential, but I probably recommend it for anybody that's kind of starting out with keto, just to help you weed out what is good and what is bad. At first, I'd keep it simple, just cut out as many carbs as you can see, but then after a while, you want to kind of track things and look at the labels of what you're eating, because there's a lot of hidden carbs and things. There's a lot of sugars and added carbs in things like cereals, an obvious example. But you'll see when you look at the packaging what there is. So the first thing I did was I got an app for my phone called Lose It. You can use MyFitnessPal, all kinds of other things, but Lose It I recommend because it's quite simple for me. Lose It with Lose It you can scan your food products, scan the barcode, and it'll fill in the nutritional information. Now I did this for a couple of months. What you do is you scan and weigh everything that you eat. Sometimes you just got to sort of guess if you're making like a, I don't know, a something which you just got to make a guess sometimes, but that's okay. And you put your macros into the system, or your you know, how much fat, how much protein, and how much carbohydrates at the least go into your meal, and you track your meals for the day. Everything that you eat, you put in the app. And what I found was, first of all, it's quite hard to get the fats up because you got to try and find good sources of fat, because you're supposed to be at about 70% is ideal on keto. To hold on while the So 70% is ideal fat on keto approximately, and so it's about 70% of that, and your protein should be moderate, and your carbohydrates ideally should be about 30 grams per day maximum, 25-30 grams depending on your size and weight, but that's about what I stuck to. I was trying to stick to 25. I think most of the time I was either below or on 25, sometimes up to 30, but very seldom over that. So Lose It was very useful for a few months, and eventually you kind of get in the habit of knowing what you can and what you can't eat, and what's going to affect your weight and what's going to not affect your weight. So that was a very useful tool. One thing I did at the start is I set my goal weight. My goal weight, by the way, I thought, well, it's just going to be 79.9, somewhere in the 70s, and I'm happy. Is kind of what I wanted to do. So I set 79 as an arbitrary goal weight starting off. So that was from December. I actually hit my goal weight in about June, I think. So it's about 6 months or less. It's pretty much lost 15 kgs, which is pretty cool. But what I did at the beginning is I set a goal in the app of 79, and that gives you a limit on your calories per day. And at first I thought that calorie counting was important because that's what you're always told on diets. But if you're counting calories on keto, you're probably doing it wrong. There might be some exceptions to some food addicts, but what you'll find with the fats and the high proteins, or the high fats and the moderate protein, should I say, and the low carbs, is that your body adjusts to it and you actually feel full and you don't feel hungry. You don't feel as hungry, and you tend to eat less. And without even trying, I was getting well below my target, the target calories for the weight loss that was set. So I kind of threw the calorie counting out the window pretty soon because it was kind of pointless. Some days you might be slightly over, but most days you're under if you're eating good sources of fat. When I started going down the path of keto, you'll find that I don't have any photos like the before and after photo. I'll try and put a photo in for you, but I really thought that I would. One of my biggest fears was I would not be able to kick the craving for carbs. That was a serious one of the things I thought, this is just not going to work because I'm just not going to be able to give that up. But the craving for carbs just kind of went away quite quickly, which is kind of unusual. The other advantage you have when you're on keto is you don't, almost immediately I noticed I don't have that afternoon slump. So normally when you have a high carb meal for lunch, your blood sugar rises quite quickly and you feel great, But then and after an hour or so, it drops, and actually drops below your original starting point, and you feel depressed and sad and tired, and you need another carb fix, and that's when you have another snack or something like that to pick you up again. So you're on this roller coaster ride with your insulin level. There's a lot of videos out there on why keto works. And it's pretty much a lot to do with the insulin levels, keeping your insulin levels stable, because as your insulin levels rise, it tells your fat cells to store energy or fat, pretty much glucose. I'm not going to get too much into the science of it, but there's heaps of videos out there which I'll talk about later, hopefully. One of the side effects I had when I was still overweight was I used to have a lot of brain fog and mental fog in my brain fog. Not clarity of mind, and there was another advantage that I had as the weight came off, and I sort of started adjusting. I had a lot more mental clarity as well, which was quite good. That was one of the things, and it comes hand in hand with that afternoon lag that you have, that dip, which doesn't exist on keto. One other thing, which is quite a significant thing that I've noticed, is because obviously you're not having as much sugar and carbohydrates. My teeth health has improved a lot, and haven't been to the dentist in a year, which is kind of unusual. I don't have any toothaches. I don't have any more cavities or whatever. So that's a very big thing to consider, is that your food bill might go up, for example, but your dentist bill is going to go down, and that all the pain and suffering that comes with that. We kind of just accept that because we like that Cadbury's chocolate bar, but ultimately it's quite expensive. One of the benefits of losing so much weight is I can actually go, and when I'm in the shower, I can actually bend down and wash my feet without getting out of breath. The same thing is true of tying my laces. It used to be when I tie my laces, I've got to breathe in, breathe down to try and or tie your laces. It's kind of funny that you mention it, but because you had a big gut, you just kind of can bend down without your blood pressure rising so much. It's just one of those advantages. But anyway, here's to year one. Feeling great. My last weigh in, I think it was 80. Well, just this morning it was 80.5 or something like that. But official weigh-in is 81, I think it is, last night. But it's in the vicinity of where I want to be, which is good, and I feel comfortable. Some advice to you if you want to start: just cut out carbs. I would recommend that you weigh yourself or at a consistent time, whether it be daily like I do. I did it because I was curious to see what affects my weight, and there's just random things which affect your weight, and it's not really that useful. At least once a week, I'd say, is a good start. If you want, like my parents, once a month, hey, if you're scared of the scale, it's okay. The scale does lie to you, so but it's not about it. Do something like that, but I'd highly recommend that you also do measurements, like do a waist measurement, because you might find these plateaus. This is what I found. You tend to plateau after a while, for a couple of weeks, and you think, oh, this is not working, but you find that your body's actually adjusting. And I was finding my pants were getting looser, but my weight was staying the same. So if you do measure your waist measurements, you'll be maybe more encouraged to continue, because you actually have that motivational factor that with the waistline, etc. So I recommend keeping track of those things, and just take a selfie before. You don't have to share it with anyone if it doesn't work for you. Tough, who knows? But I wish I'd taken one like a mirror shot at the beginning and at the end, so I knew you could see the difference. But hey, I know what the difference is, and it's all good. So I think that's me. I'll leave it at that. Some of the psychological things which happen when you lose weight, it's kind of like I still feel like I'm a fat person on the inside. I'm not really actually got much fat on me. I do have some that I'd still like to get rid of, but it's just one of those psychological things. You kind of wake up in the morning and it just doesn't feel real, you know. You don't feel like you've actually lost so much weight and that you actually are a thinner person. And it just takes a bit of adjustment again, you know, to realize, well, I'm not that person that I used to be. So it's just a weird thought. One of the downsides of being skinnier is that when you bump into things, it actually hurts quite a bit because your bones are a bit more exposed. So it's kind of one of those funny things that you notice. Like my elbows, when I touch them together, they kind of knock, and my knees knock. Sometimes it's kind of a weird feeling, but you get used to it. One of the other advantages was, of course, getting rid of all the old jeans, which just fell off. After a few weeks, they just kept falling off. I had to get belts, and then they looked ridiculous after a while. So I decided, even despite my age, just to buy a few pairs of skinny jeans, which is kind of funny to put on, and they actually fit fine and they feel good. But it was just basically done to spite all the younger people, to show that you can actually fit into a pair of skinny jeans. One of the more recent stories that I had was the wife bought me a pair of a winter jacket, and I think it was a large, which is a kind of a normal size that I probably have worn, and I just found that it was too big, and I said, "This is too big." And the wife basically said, "No, you must be crazy." So she said, "Well, just take it back then." So I went back to the store, and I said, "Oh, I need to get a smaller jacket." And the lady, the attendant in the store said, "Oh no, that's not your size. You know, that should be the right size." And I said, "No, it's not." So she said, "Oh, okay, fine." So she got the medium out, and it actually fitted perfectly. And she was like, "Oh, okay. I didn't realize it would fit you, because it was just unusual for someone my age and height to actually have a jacket that size. And it's nice to be able to fit into a medium size without issue, instead of having this bulk." So some of the other advantages of being, losing so much weight is I can actually do stuff like yoga. Went to my sister's house and did yoga for a few weeks, and I hope to continue to use it where I can. But I wouldn't be able to do that very effectively with more weight. You could probably do overweight yoga, I suppose, but it was just nice to be able to just sort of jump in and enjoy that. Climbing a tree, doing pull-ups at the local park, which is kind of unheard of for me. So let's talk about pull-ups. I remember talking to a friend about a year before I started my keto diet, and remember thinking how impossible it was when we were younger. We used to be able to do pull-ups, but with the extra stomach weight and extra weight around us, it was practically impossible. We tried it at the local playground, but after a while I did try it, and I could actually do one pull-up. Not very fit, and my muscles aren't very big, but I could actually do a pull-up, which is kind of cool, because all that weight has come off. So just one of those weird things.